Welcome back, everyone. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. I'm trying to post content regularly, so here's several stories for you guys about delivery driving. You just never know what people you're going to meet. With that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So I did deliveries from my parents' restaurant when I was in high school. I just turned 16 and I got my driver's license. My parents were always wanting to start offering delivery. I didn't want to be a waiter or work at the register, so driving sounded like a good option. When this happened, I had been doing deliveries for a few months, so I was pretty comfortable with it. It was Thursday, around 8 p.m., and my dad gave me an order to deliver. I got my car, which is actually my mom's SUV, then started the drive. Google Maps said the house was about 25 minutes away. Our town was small, so 25 minutes away was actually pretty far. As I drove, I started to recognize the area as being on the edge of town, and I still had 10 minutes to go. I had never been this far out in this direction before, so I was definitely paying attention and keeping my eyes opened. I wasn't scared per se, but just felt uncomfortable. The only houses I was passing now were farmhouses, far from the main road. When the directions told me to turn, it was down a long unpaved path, going straight to one of those farmhouses. Now I was starting to get a little freaked out. A farmhouse this far out at night was probably the last place I wanted to be, but I knew I was probably just spooking myself, and it was just a simple delivery. I drove down to the end of the path, which ended and just became a small grass field in front of the house. It wasn't clear whether or not to drive on the grass, so I just parked the car there and got out. It was eerily quiet. All I could hear were my footsteps on the grass. As I walked up to the house, the porch light was on, but no other lights were on the inside of the house. I was looking over my shoulders constantly and walking quickly. The longer I was out there, the more uncomfortable I was. Just before I reached the porch, I heard something. It sounded like it was coming from the backyard, behind the farmhouse, but it was loud, like a wooden door opening. I stepped onto the porch and dropped the bag on the doorstep, then rang the doorbell, and started rushing back to the car. I was regretting how far I parked and wished I just drove on the grass. And as I listened to the only sound of my footsteps under me, I started to hear more and more footsteps running behind me, in my direction. I turned around and saw 3 men sprinting at me through the grass. I tried to run back to my car, but in seconds I was tackled to the ground. One of them held me down, while another started taking everything from my pockets. I was yelling and screaming for help, but I knew nobody could hear me. It all happened really fast, and once they looted my pockets, one of the men kicked me in the stomach, and they all ran and got in the car, turning around and driving away. I got up and just watched the headlights disappear on the long, empty road. I had no phone and no way to get back. I didn't know what else to do then, so I just started walking toward the road. When I reached the road, I started walking down the way I came. I had no way of telling time, but I think I was walking for 30 to 40 minutes before a patrol car pulled up in front of me. My parents had called for them to check on me because I wasn't responding. To sum it up, the cops found a small barn behind the farmhouse with another restaurant delivery bag inside it. They think they tried to do the same thing to someone before me, but probably missed their chance or chickened out for some reason because there were no other reports. The actual owners of the farmhouse were out of town, so they had no involvement. My phone was able to be tracked though, and was found thrown in the field of the side of the road, not too far away. The stolen car, however, took 3 weeks to be located. It was found nearly 400 miles away, and had been almost entirely emptied. This was almost a year ago now, and those 3 men that attacked me still have yet to be identified. This happened a few weeks ago, and it was so bizarre that I still think about it every so often. Anyway, I was babysitting my nieces. They were 8 and 10. Since my sister was going out to meet this other girl at a coffee shop, I offered to babysit my nieces, since her house was nice, and I didn't have anything else to do that night, so I decided, why not? At first we just watched movies, and played video games together. Later on into the night, I noticed they didn't eat anything, and so I asked them if they were hungry. They both replied, no, at first. That's when I said I can make a quesadilla for them, or anything else they wanted. They still replied no. When I mentioned pizza, they immediately yelled yes, of course they would. Well, bad idea that night. When I called the local Pizza Hut, I ordered 2 large pizzas to be delivered. Keep in mind that I went outside to make this phone call, quite loudly I should say, because it was dead silent outside. I only went outside because I noticed a bag on the street, and I thought it was mine or somebody else's. It was just trash. When I looked closely at it, I'm assuming this was the neighbor's trash bag. 20 minutes go by, and I hear a doorbell ring. It was the Pizza Hut delivery girl. I paid her in cash, and I took the pizzas to the kitchen, where my nieces were eating at. This is when the weird stuff happens. Not even 10 minutes go by, and I hear the doorbell ring again. I was skeptical at first, and looked out the window. It was hard to see much of anything by this point. I opened the door, only to be greeted by an old man with a pizza box in his hand. He says to me, "Hello, son. I got your pizza that you ordered." I tried to answer in a way that would divert the situation. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't order any pizza. You must have got the wrong location." That's when I tried to close the door, but he pushed his hand hard on the door. "Are you sure?" he replied. I firmly replied back, "Yes," and I closed the door. I thought that was the end of that, until one of my nieces told me, "Why is there a man just standing outside our house?" I was confused, but my heart started to pound when I thought it was the same old man from earlier. I was right. It was the same old man, still standing outside the house, with the pizza box still in his hand. I was absolutely livid. I opened the door furiously and yelled at him that I would call the cops immediately. He ran off. My sister arrived 2 hours later, and I told her what happened. She looked immediately concerned, and then asked who it was. I told her it was an old man who impersonated a pizza delivery worker. I don't know what she did after I told her. I'm not sure if she called the cops to file a report or not. My name is Tommy, and I started doing Uber Eats last year, after I lost my part-time retail job. I'd seen their ads everywhere, about how the job was so relaxing and easy money, and some of my friends were curious about the gig too. So I took one for the team to figure out if all the hype was true. It wasn't. Driving around on a time crunch made the gig really stressful. Sometimes it would just be for a couple bucks. I was only a teenager, and my only bills I had to pay were my car payment and car insurance, so making a ton of money wasn't necessary. But it did feel like I was getting ripped off for the amount of time and work it was. I pushed aside getting a different job because I was lazy, but after this happened, I quit right away. I picked up an order from my Chinese place and was heading to the customer's address. I don't remember it being a large order or anything. I think it was just a normal small order with a small payout. On the way to their address, I got a text in the Uber Eats app. It was my customer asking where I was, and then another text came in telling me to hurry up. I was driving so I couldn't respond, but I was just confused and honestly a little annoyed. I just picked up the order a couple minutes prior, so it wasn't like I was running late or anything. I shrugged it off and thought it was just a mistake on their part. The address wasn't far, only about 10 minutes. It was in a less well-off neighborhood in my town, though with pretty old and small houses. It's actually funny though, because the customers in smaller, cheaper houses usually tip more than the rich people. Anyway, I pulled up next to their driveway and got out of my car, holding their bag of food. What caught my attention as I walked up their driveway was that the house had all of its lights off. It wasn't the most scary thing in the world, but it was something I took note of. When I got up to the front door, I knocked quietly and took out my phone to take a picture of it on the porch. But just as I snapped the photo, a man yelled from my left, standing by the corner of the house. I jumped, then awkwardly said hi. He started walking toward me, taking a key out of his pocket. "I don't know what took you so long." He walked right in front of me and held the single key up and unlocked the front door. His attitude had me in disbelief. I didn't know what to do or say, so I just stood there like an idiot. "Come here, I need your help since you took your time driving. It'll be quick." He waited by the door, holding it opened. No, I'm okay. I should really get back to work." The man looked angry and took a step toward me, reaching out like he was trying to grab me. I jolted my shoulder back to avoid his hand, then backed up and walked away from the porch. And just as I got to the driveway, bright headlights flashed over me. The man by the door ran outside and around the house, leaving the front door open. As the car pulled up the driveway, it turned out to be the homeowners, returning from dinner. The man I met at the door didn't live there, and the homeowners had no idea who he was or how he had gotten a key to their house. We called the police and explained the situation to them. Knowing everything now, it made more sense why the man wanted me to rush to the house. He probably knew that the homeowners could be back at any minute, and he wanted to have enough time to do whatever it was he was going to do to me before they got back. I still don't have any answers for what happened that night, or what was going to happen, and I don't think I ever will, but I have stopped doing deliveries after that. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed the stories. And if you did, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. And as always, stay depraved.